Hello, how are you? I've been asked how I made this frame that I put on one of my pages in the Ugly Art Club challenge last month, and so I thought I would make one with you. You can make lovely frames using die cut machines, and they're beautiful die cut and embossing machines. I use my Big Shot. If you've been following me on Instagram, you would have seen me use this from time to time. But you don't have to have an embossing machine to make really cool frames. And also, I think they look more individual and a little bit more arty. So let's make one. So all you're going to need is some cardstock. So these are actually scrap strips of cardstock that have been left over after I've been making albums and things. So I thought I'd use those. And then I am using a craft knife and a metal ruler and a self-healing cutting mat. You can see this is a really old one. I've had this for probably 20 years, so it's doing well. And this is a Fisker's craft knife, and I've got an X-Acto blade in there because I don't like the Fisker's ones. And then I'm going to use a stylus, and this is the McGill flower ball making kit, I think. I can never remember what these things are called on camera, so I'll leave the link down below if I can find it so that you know what I'm talking about. And here's some of the frames that I've made recently, and some of them I've made with the craft knife, and a couple of them I have made with punches. And this is just a square punch. I've used a smaller square punch for the middle, and then I've gone in with a bigger square punch after that, and I might show you exactly what I mean to do that. And I did the same thing with a circle punch. This one was just a bit of scrap and I just played around with it, and then I rubbed it with the metallic wax by Prima. And this one here is similar size to this one, so this must have been exactly the same cardstock strip I used for that one too. Yep. And they just look really cool because they're so individual, and that you make your own markings on them. So I'll show you how I do one. First of all, I'll show you a punched one, and I am using really old Creative Memories punches. This is how old they are. I don't even know if you can still get these because I don't do Creative Memories anymore, but back in the day I used to be a demonstrator, or whatever you used to call those people that came and did parties at your house for scrapbooking. So these are really good actually if you do find them secondhand, or if they are still available, go ahead and get one because they line up. So you put your straight edge down here and punch your little square, and then if I go back in with a bigger square, I can turn around the right way. I can go and line that up with the biggest square, and it's perfectly lined up to that side, if you see what I mean. Just wait till it grabs. Grab both sides. This is what you have to do with all punches, not just Creative Memories ones. You should always let it grab so it's got the piece of paper in the teeth of the punch, and then go in and punch evenly, and then it'll pop out. And there you've got your little frame, which is really cool. And you can do that with circle punches as well. So you just line up, punch the smaller circle or square first, and then line up the bigger one to make your little frame. And that's that. Now that paper, that cardstock, is the American Crafts textured cardstock, so it's already got a texture on it. I actually liked it, how it turned out without the textured cardstock, so we'll use the plain cardstock for the one we're doing today. So that's how I did the punches anyway, and how I do the frames. You could do this with scissors, of course. I just find it, or you could use your trimmer or anything like that. I just find it quite cool to be able to do it on the camera with a craft knife. And let's just see how big I made it. I kind of just eyeballed it. I didn't really measure, so it's about that. So every one of these squares I think is 1 inch probably. So that's about 4 inches. Let's see, is it? Yep, 4 inches. So a lot of self-healing cutting mats have those grids, so you can just use the grids really easily. The thing I've got my eye on is the Tim Holtz glass media mat. Of course, it's been around for quite a number of years now, and I still haven't got around to getting one, but I will at some stage. So if you're using a craft knife and a self-healing cutting mat, the trick is to not press too hard, because you will dig into the craft mat and really dull your blade if you press too hard. So it's better to have a light touch and go twice than it is to really dig it in. And I am not too worried whether I go over my lines or not. This does not have to be perfect. I'm just eyeballing it up to that 1/2 inch grid square there. And again, I'm going to go a little bit crooked from time to time, go over the line. It really doesn't matter for this technique. Just line it up a little bit. You want to get it sort of roughly right, but not perfect, if you get my drift. A little bit further on that one. And then one more line to make, more cut to make, and then we've got it cut out. It's just going to pop out. You can keep that scrap for another frame, or you could put it, make some more marks and make a bit of a cool piece like that. I'm going to cover this because it is super sharp and we don't want that getting anywhere. It's another problem I have with this Fiskars thing. If anybody can tell me what I'm doing wrong with this thing, I just think it's a bit awkward. But anyway, moving on. So I've got an old mouse pad here and some book pages. The mouse pad is quite soft and the book pages are just giving it a little bit more support. You just got to play around with what you've got. You can use a piercing mat, which is a little bit more firm. You could use a scoring board even to make some of the marks if you so desire, if you've got one. You could just use an old telephone book or an old dictionary. It doesn't have to be something super soft, but you will find that the different substrates you've got to put down your frame on will be dependent on what the indentations look like. So first of all, I've got my frame that we just cut out, and I'm just going to go around the edge of it with my metal ruler and the stylus, and I'm using the finest tip I've got just to create a little bit of an indentation around the edge, and it's kind of giving you a little border like a die cut machine would. Of course, the die cut machine would probably, makes a perfect job, and we're making a little bit looser sort of arty frame. So I'm just going to go on the outside and the inside all the way around. Remembering, we're not making this a perfect job. I think the less perfect, the better, in fact. The more arty, if you like, for a better lack of a better word, it will look. So, well, one last line on the inside of that frame. And then you just go ahead and make whatever marks you want to. So in this one, I was actually experimenting with this one. And that's why I ended up using it actually, because it wasn't even proper. So I just did some squiggles along there. I did a sort of a border pattern there. I did some starburst thingies with dots on, and then these ones were just dots. So let's see how all those marks are made. So you might want to just do corners, and that might be enough for you. And then you've got your frame, like a picture frame. And then maybe dots. So I'm just going to rub my ball in quite firmly and make some dots. And really randomly. And then if you want to take it off the book page and make them even more, that looks actually really cool because it's making it more indented. And then this squiggle line thing, I think I just was my go-to when I was at school to do borders on my pages, which is funny because still using it today. Won't tell you how many years on. There you go. So that's that one. And you could just do random figure eights or patterns, whatever you like. It might be just lines like this. You're just going to press fairly hard or use the softness of the mouse pad or whatever you're using. And then we are going to use the wax to really bring out that detail of the pattern. So this is a few years old now. I bought it at a craft market thing, and it was really amazing. It just turns, it's like magic. It turns anything into this really antiqued bronzy sort of thing. This is the aged brass one. So if you like this side or that side, just depends on how it's turned out for you, and you just go in really, really lightly. I tend to have a heavy hand when I start, so I'm just warning you. If you haven't used this before, you just like any sort of inking and anything technique, you want to go in with a light hand first, because you can always build up the colour rather than taking it down. Although if you have, so this one here, I did go in with a heavy hand and I sort of wiped it back with a baby wipe. So I'm just going to go lightly over it, and I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy with the result. And go around the edges quite well too, because it'll bring up the lines we made on the edges. And very lightly all the way around. And you can see all our patterns that are coming out a little bit stronger, plus it's giving us that vintage vibe of the aged brass. Yeah, I love that. I think it's really cool. I've got different patterns on all sides. You might not want to do that. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes, but you get that idea. And then this one with the circle, I just put lines. So lines look quite cool, and then you've got the texture of the American Crafts cardstock there as well, so that's already given you some texture. You could just leave it like that. And then this one was just a scrap piece, and it was just lines. So, and that was on the textured cardstock, so it's got that sort of texture. And that would be really cool as a tab for your page. Actually, I might put that one there. Because it actually ties in with that frame there. So I might just do that now. I'm using art glitter glue for this because it's quite good glue and dries clear. Love the stuff. What's that going to look like on that side? I should check that, shouldn't I? We'll put the short side that side. There we go. It's going to work perfect. As if I designed it like that, rather than it being a scrap on my table that I just picked up. Oh, that looks cool. Yeah, maybe some brads or something there, perhaps. Anyway, I hope you liked that, guys, and if you did, please give me a like. A thumbs up would be really appreciated, because I do like to know that these videos are useful to you and that you got something out of them. So I'll catch you later. Bye.